Are we ready to start filming? Okay, good. I'll just have one more sip of my coffee. Okay, so we're all set up. Okay, perfect. Right then, how do I look? Let me just check myself in the camera. Okay, perfect. Okay, ready? Okay. Well, hello there. How wonderful that you could join me for another indulgent episode of me, Nigella Lawson, trying ASMR. Now, last time I showed you some of my most favourite things from my kitchen, and tonight I am going to be sharing with you some of my favourite nibbles, and we're actually going to be eating them tonight. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you through some of my most favourite nibbles. Are you ready? I thought so. Now I have 7 of my most favourite nibbles, so I hope that you will stay with me to experience every single indulgence. Okay, I think we'll start with something sweet, because who doesn't love a bit of sweetness? Now, these are an absolute delight. They are almost like little wafers filled with chocolate and hazelnut. And who doesn't enjoy nuts? So I think that we should begin the indulgence now. Let's open it. There we go. And hidden beneath that covering, all tucked up as if in bed, are these delightful little wafers. You can just see them all in there. Now I won't keep you waiting for too much longer, and to be honest with you, I'm terrible at waiting and awfully impatient. So we're going to enjoy this first delight now. The first thing you get is that delectable crunch, wafer thin. Now if I were to be left alone with these, I would definitely be finishing them all myself, but one must be good, so we'll just share a few more together. So light, perfect to be enjoyed with a lovely, hot, steaming coffee. This takes me back to sitting in a courtyard in Italy. The sunbeams just beaming down on my skin. The smell of the fresh plants and flowers of the courtyard. And just sitting lazily for hours with a good book after preparing some dishes. And then just relaxing with a nice espresso and some of these. Another thing to note is the smell. Wonderfully nutty, but also you get that hint of cocoa. That lovely chocolate just combined with that hazelnut turned into this soft, sumptuous cream. Now we'll just have one more because we have 6 more things to get through. So I'm going to close this up now. And most likely I will be finishing that whole tin later on. Right, let's finish this last one. Just delightful. And I'll just cleanse the palate with a sip of my coffee. Okay. Perfection. So let's move on through our culinary collection. And I think now I could do with something a little bit savoury. So, next up I think to just switch up the palette, we'll move on to these savoury cheese wafers with tomato and basil. Now, these are so simple, but tomato and basil always reminds me of home, and as soon as I think of basil, I can almost smell it. Now, these can of course be enjoyed with a selection of toppings, but we are going to just savour the biscuit in all its glory today. Now, I haven't actually had these ones in a while, so I'm quite looking forward to getting tucked in. Shall we indulge? Okay. Now they come in this little sealed packet, that extra fresh, crunchy biscuit. And there's something so simple and wonderful about little biscuits like this. And I always like to keep something like this in the pantry, because when you just fancy that little savoury kind of kick and you don't want to get out the pots and pans, then this is a great option. You can really smell that tomato, that hint of basil, and that cheesiness. Now I love these because you can see they have quite an unusual organic shape to them, and I think that makes them all the more fun to consume. So enough of my rabbiting on. Let's dive in. The first thing that really hits you is the tomato. Now, as you all know, I'm a huge tomato advocate, and I am all for tomato in any form. And I think injecting it into a little biscuit or cracker, whatever you'd like to call it, is such a fantastic way to preserve the flavour. It's hard not to get a little bit messy. I think these would be absolutely delightful as part of a platter if you were having guests around. So perhaps if you were putting together a meze of options, I think something like this, perhaps in the mix of some olives, a selection of cheeses and meats and other breads, I think would work really well. Also, of course, a fantastic option if you are watching one's weight, but of course, as we all know, when it comes to food, I do never like to count calories because I think life is too short and food is there to be enjoyed, but I always like to have a lighter option for my guests. Now, let's just have one more and then we'll move on to the rest because I'm looking at what I have and I'm anxious to get stuck in. Those are absolutely delicious. So let's pop those to one side. Please rest assured that I will most definitely be finishing the lot. Okay, let's cleanse again. Perfect. So, to excuse me if I'm getting a little bit mucky. Okay, now what shall we have? Now I have 3 savoury options and 2 sweet options left. So I feel like we should perhaps have another savoury option. So I think we, just to cleanse the palate a little bit more because we've obviously had that tomatoey flavour, I think we'll move on to something quite plain. Now you're probably thinking, Nigella, plain, that isn't right. But I always think sometimes it's just good to stick with the classics. So I have here some breadsticks. And these are really a wonderful thing to always keep in one's pantry. These are wonderful with all sorts of meals, especially if I'm putting together one of my classic Italian banquets. I always have to have breadsticks. So let's dive in. Now, these breadsticks definitely don't have to be shy because they are of a very sufficient length and girth. So, let's dive in. Now, there really is no elegant way to eat a breadstick. Now, I really do think these are a wonderful thing to have in one's pantry. They are fantastic with some homemade dip. I love enjoying mine with some beetroot hummus. And of course, they are wonderful with meals as well, pasta dishes, just to soak up any juices. These have a wonderful crunch to them. Now, I could, of course, have been an extra good chef and made these myself, but to be honest with you, when time is limited, there is nothing wrong with shop-bought options. And I do make the extra effort, of course, to make all of my dips. I also find that when I am looking to, serve to a variety of guests, it's always good to have breadsticks there along with a selection of other breads. I really do think they are an excellent way to just line the stomach, and also they just look quite fun, don't they? Stuck up in that little jar. I also love these breadsticks in particular because they have a very nice goldeny rich colour. And you get some breadsticks that just look terribly pale and unappetising, so I think that these are just the perfect size and shape and colour. They are surprisingly filling as well. So wonderful if you are looking for something to snack on. A couple of breadsticks and you will be sorted until dinner. Well, in my case, probably not, but I do try. Okay, let's finish this off. Last bit. Now, I would normally never eat just a breadstick on its own without some kind of lubrication. So do excuse me whilst I have rather a big sip of my coffee. Right, let's get back to it. So we have 2 savoury options and 2 sweet options left. Now I am going to indulge in some classic cream wafers. These are actually some of my favourite ones, and again, perfect to be enjoyed with a hot beverage, in particular coffee. I am also rather partial to something in rather delightful packaging, and I think this tin is just lovely. I always like to hold on to things like this and refill them with something homemade. So these are, I suppose, quite similar to the first cream wafer we tried, except these are in long tubes, and these don't have any nutty flavourings. This is just pure chocolate. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, and to be honest with you, I don't want to keep myself waiting any longer, so let's get stuck in. Now, I literally just went out to my local supermarket to purchase these, so they are still in their wrapping. So let's just unwrap them. There we go. Okay. There's something so inviting about that sound. Now again, they are tucked up in their packaging, so let's tease them out. And in here we have, let me see, probably around 20 to 30, I would say, long chocolate wafers. And you just imagine stirring your drink, even a cool glass of milk, with this, and then biting into it as it begins to melt. I think sometimes the simplest of nibbles are the best, and this one definitely tops my charts. So let's tuck in. The first thing that hits me straight away is the richness and smoothness of that chocolate. Simply so sumptuous, and it's just delicately tucked into that light, crispy, long wafer. Now, these are definitely not something you could ever leave me alone with, because I will polish off the whole tin. I am definitely going to be having lots more of these this evening. And I think it would be rude to not share one more with you. Don't you agree? I think so. So, one of the things that I really love about this, compared to the other smaller wafers, is the size. Now, of course, size doesn't matter, but when it comes to chocolate wafers, I beg to differ. this is really the perfect size to just dip, as I said, into a drink. I would quite like, in a way, to dip this into some chocolate milk, actually, slightly warmed, and just enjoy as I sit by the fire and gaze outside. Sometimes the simplest pleasures in life are the best. I think that people assume that I like lots of complicated, fancy foods, but to be honest with you, when I'm tired and it's been a long day, there is nothing I enjoy more than enjoying something extremely simple. So, getting quite sad now that we're coming to near the end of this wafer, but I still have 3 other things to dive into. Okay, let's finish this off. Now that, to me, is just pure perfection. It really, really is. Okay. Thank you if you have decided to stay with me and keep me company whilst we dive into all of these culinary delights. Now, the next thing that I have my beady little eyes on are these. Now, these are not your everyday crisps. They sound like an M&S advert. But these I picked up from my local deli, and I always like to pop in there because they always seem to source such unusual things. And I was having some friends round, actually for a movie night, and I wanted some, nice little snacks for them to tuck into. Of course, I created a range myself, but I just needed some extra things, and that's where I found these. So, these are black truffle flavour gourmet potato chips. And I simply cannot wait to try these. Now, truffle is one of those things that, if it is overdone, and almost if you have too much of it, the flavour can be so overwhelming. For example, I like to add some freshly shaved truffle into some macaroni cheese, just to really enhance the richness. But if you overdo it, it can just become too overwhelming and ruin the dish. So I'm very intrigued to try these. I haven't tried these before, and I know this is supposed to be my favourite Nibbles, but I have a feeling that these are going to become one of my favourites, and truffle is one of my favourite flavours. So enough talking and more eating. It's one of my many life mottos. Okay, let's do this. I can smell that wonderful, wonderful black truffle scent. I like the little gold as you open the bag as well. It makes it more inviting and luxurious. Okay, now they are extremely yellow in colour. I'm not sure if you can fully see this, but they're of a nice thickness and size. Don't want to be stingy on my guests, so I like to give them good sized things. Let's have a try. These are definitely some of my new favourite nibbles. Instantly I'm getting that wonderful, wonderful black truffle taste. The best way I think I could describe it is it's slightly salty, very, very rich. An absolutely perfect thickness and crunch. Now, I'm trying to be all delicate whilst I eat these and ladylike, but I really can't be. I've already got salt all around my mouth, so anyway. As you first bite into it, you get that instant richness, but you also get the salty kind of back flavour, which just cuts through it very nicely. And that's one of the important things when you do use something like truffle, and it could be the shavings of a fresh truffle, or it could be truffle oil. You just have to make sure that balance is right, and if you are going to be cooking with it, just taste as you go along. Now, these I can see myself definitely polishing off. And I know my friends will love these. We're always looking for new flavours to try, and I think this is a really perfect way as well if you're looking to broaden your taste buds and perhaps you're a little bit nervous to actually try something with truffle in. If you enjoy a crisp or potato chip, as the rest of the world would say, then definitely this is an excellent option for you. It's difficult for me to compare them to an existing crisp because the richness and flavour of truffle is so unique. You know, that's why it's so expensive. It's so sought after, but also quite rare in a sense. So to have it in something like a crisp is actually quite special. And again, it's that little bit of indulgence if you want to have something like crisp, but you really want to elevate your taste buds and your palate, and you know, your guest's palate as well. So before I eat the whole bag, and I must save some for my guests, I think we'll just have one more, okay? And then we just have 2 more things to share together. Now my fingers are terribly salty, but nothing a quick lick won't sort out. Perfect. Okay, so let's pop those down. As I mentioned, we have 2 things left. We have a savoury option and we have a sweet. And as we just had those crisps, I think we'll indulge in some sweetness. So let me just gather myself and have another sip of coffee. Okay. Now I am awful for keeping my face together whilst I'm eating. I'm normally an absolute mess and there's nothing wrong with that. So I do apologise if I'm looking slightly dishevelled. Anyway, let's get on to something that, of course, is extremely traditional. So, here we have some biscotti, and this is with chocolate. Because, as we all know, I love that extra bit of indulgence. Now again, these would be enjoyed, with a coffee normally, but really you don't need an excuse to have these. They're wonderful whenever you fancy them. Okay. Now let me tuck into these. Now there are only a few in this packet, and I think we all know they will be gone very soon. But the smell of these is wonderful, and of course the best way to enjoy this is by dipping them in a hot drink. But we are just going to try them as they are. So, the first thing that, let me pop this down to demonstrate. The first thing that you notice is they are quite solid. Now they're actually extremely light when dunked, and we all know I love a good dunk, but on their own they are quite hard and crispy, so prepare your ears for these. Now these have a wonderful, wonderful texture and a fabulous aroma as you eat them as well, as if they have just been freshly baked. For me, whenever I have these, it just brings back memories of home, and I've tried making these many times, but I find that, going to a cafe or a deli or somewhere like that to get them, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you find your favourite ones, and these really are some of my favourites. So let's enjoy one more together. Okay. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend these if you have bad teeth because they are quite hard on their own. They're very satisfying though, and whatever I'm consuming, I do like to make sure that I am fully satisfied with what I'm eating. Otherwise it's just a waste and you could be eating something better. But I would advise dunking these so they just melt in the mouth, but for the sake of ASMR, we are going to enjoy them in their natural form. What you tend to get is that very hard initial bite, and then it just starts to just simply melt. So it's worth tucking into. Absolute perfection. So, thank you again for staying with me. It's been wonderful sharing these delights with you. We just have one more savoury nibble left. So, let's share this now. So, last but by no means least, we have some bruschetta. Now, I love these ones because these are actually little crisp breads. So, these are tomato and oregano. And these are really ideal for many different occasions. So, for example, these are wonderful with soups. You could even use these as canapes and actually top them with things. Of course, you could crumble them on top of a large, freshly made salad. Maybe with some shavings of parmesan on top. Or, of course, you can just enjoy them as they are for snacking. So, I love these, and it's also just worth mentioning that if you are looking to try these but you're worried about things like preservatives and everything like that, these ones do not have preservatives in. No hydrogenated fat, and they're suitable for vegans as well. So, let's finally enjoy the last nibble together. So, the first thing you notice when you open the bag is that wonderful scent of that sun-ripened tomato. You can see they're quite delicate. And again, you can see here that this is why they would be the perfect size for canapes. I always like to give my guests a little mouthful when they come to visit, so this is the perfect size. Now, they are called crisp breads for a reason, and you'll see why. you have this wonderful, wonderful instant hit of that ripe vine tomatoes just on the base there, and then that hit of the oregano. I particularly love breaking these actually up over soup as little flavoured croutons. If I'm too lazy to make my own, and something like croutons is so simple. And I always, whenever I've finished my freshly baked bread loaf, whenever I finish that and you've just got the crust left, instead of throwing it out, I'll always break it up into bits and just bake it on a low heat in the oven, and then simply you can easily just freeze croutons, and then literally you can get them out and just defrost them very quickly and scatter them across, or just reheat gently. But whenever I haven't got any in stock and I have some of these, then this is the next best option. Something like this is so simple, but again, there's nothing wrong with simplicity. Again, there is no ladylike way to eat these. Now I want to find one with lots of tomato on. That looks like a good one. Oh, actually. So let's enjoy this last one slowly together. So, are you ready? Okay. Well, there we have it. 7 of my most favourite nibbles. Thank you so much for joining me, and indulging my own indulgence. I think for me that's really worked up an appetite actually, and I'm going to go and prepare one of my most favourite Italian classics. Don't worry, I'll be sure to take pictures and I'll post them on my social media. So, it is time for me to leave you now, and I really do hope that you enjoyed this, and I'm sure we will be seeing each other again soon. So, that's it, my darlings. And remember that when it comes to food, there is never anything too indulgent to nibble. Good night. Is that a wrap? We've got it all? Wonderful. Okay then. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just tidy up, okay? Right, actually. Right, quickly whilst he has gone. Hello? Hello there. Yes, could I have the same order as the night before, please? Yes, the spaghetti. Oh, yeah, could you get some linguine as well? Yes, the one I had last week. Fabulous. Also, could you make up a nice fresh salad? Perfect. Have you got any interesting sides as well? Things that would look sort of pretty to take a picture of. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I've got to clear up a couple of things anyway. So about 30 minutes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Right, that's dinner ordered again. Okay.